Hello and welcome to the last of the introductory lectures on otherwise known as pig. And we're looking at subplot. Now, imagine you have a piece of cloth. It's a single colour. It could be black, green, even gold. But you need something more to that if you're going to make something out of it. You need extra colours, you need extra dimensions, and that's really what a subplots are. They're those extra dimensions, colours, actions that you put into a story to pad out the main plot. Subplots can be a number of different types. You can have comic ones, romantic ones, expository ones, and narrative ones. Now, comic and romantic are fairly self-explanatory, I think, but an expository plot is something that gives you a bit of back history to the character, gives you a little bit more understanding of what that character is going through. And a narrative subplot is an extra line to the story that usually weaves into the main plot, adds tension and interest. A really good example of subplots is in The Dark Knight. You have the main plot of the Joker and Batman, and then you have this subplot of Harvey Dent, which weaves its way through the story, and it ties in again to the romantic subplot of Rachel. And the way that all those plots tie together into the story is a really good example of how subplot and plot work together. So if you haven't seen the movie, go ahead and see it and tell your parents that you're doing homework. Okay? In otherwise known as Pig, I've got 4 main subplots. And it's quite interesting the way the first one of those, and in fact the most important one of those, came about. Another fellow Wakefield author, Poppy Nuausu, who's written a couple of excellent romantic books, which I really recommend. She says no matter what she's doing, whether her romance is the main plot or the subplot, she always knows what that's going with, even if she's still figuring out the rest of it when she starts to write. Now me, I always know what my main plot's going to be, and I have absolutely no idea about the rest. They just jump out at me. When I first started writing Pig, I was writing as a diary. It was sort of my first draft, which was every day I'd write 2 or 3 entries as Morgan of what was going on. I was about 2 weeks into that diary, and suddenly Chris turned up and burnt the art room down. Now, I had no idea he was going to do that, and then it just kept going, and the story became so interesting, I thought, I've got to put this into the book as well. And then I developed Mrs. Everson, the art teacher, and before I know where I was, I had, in fact, the major subplot of Pig, which is, in fact, the fire that takes place. Now, spoiler warning, subplots are full of spoilers. This lecture is full of spoilers. If you hate spoilers, turn this off now, go ahead, read the book, and then come back. Subplot 1, the fire. This is where Chris burns down the art room. It adds tension to the story. It also removes the main refuge Morgan's had, which is the art room and Mrs. Everson, and it involves us in both of those characters really strongly. There's a fight going on between those 2 people, and Morgan gets himself caught up in the middle of it. And the purpose of that particular subplot is it adds a lot of tension, a lot of action to the story. You've met Chris in an earlier lecture, and you can see that he's the type of character that is really going to ratchet up the tension and the danger of what's happening. And the second really important thing that subplot does is it introduces us to the character of Mrs. Everson. Now, she's probably my favourite character in the story. We're going to hear a lot more about her in later lectures because she's a character who gives us real insight into what's happening with Morgan and gives us a perspective outside his own, which, given that he's so caught up in his own thing, is really important to balance some of the things he sees in the story. The second one is Lissa, the romantic subplot. Now, that opens up really sweet. And in fact, it gives us some of the pieces of lightness and joy in this book that it really badly needs. But because Lissa's also being bullied, you also have this contrast and this connection with Morgan that probably creates more troubles than it helps. But we really see the effect of bullying, not just on the individual, but on that individual's relationships. And I think that's really important in a story. And thirdly, we have the subplot of the PE teacher and Morgan's constant rounds with him. There are about 8 of those in the book that are repeated, and I'm pleased to state that Morgan does in fact win the last one. So it is a victory for Morgan. But apart from the comedy of this contest between the PE teacher and Morgan, which I must admit I based on something that my friends and I did in a French lesson when we were much younger, which I will not go into details in case it gives you ideas. But it also gives you a lot of detail and insight into the whole question of identity and sport, and in fact Morgan's race, which to him isn't very important, but because he's not fully white, his father had a lot of problems and sport got him out of that. So we see this connection between race and identity underlying this somewhat light-hearted, sometimes quite dark contest that Morgan has with the PE teacher. And we'll go into that in more detail because that's the really important aspect of that subplot. And finally, we have I've Got a 22. This is a character that we first meet in a throwaway line as rooster red hair and obsessed with shooting things. He gets given the name I've Got a 22 in the next scene he gets given, and he just appears sporadically throughout the story until he finally becomes one of the really pivotal people in the last scene of the book. But that's something that we really need to go into depth for. That's something we need to look at, bullying and also identity, which we'll be looking at in later lectures. So I'm just going to leave that. Keep an eye out for that character when you're reading the book. He will become very important. And I'd like to finish with a reading. It's one with Lissa near the beginning of her story with Morgan. They're not yet going out, but they're partners in art class. Chapter 9. I'm painting Cubist Roses. I find art much easier if it has a mathematical component. When Lissa shoves a card across the desk. What's this? She's looking down and I swear she's blushing. It's for you. I made it. Do you like it? It's the portrait Lissa did at the beginning of the year. She scanned and printed it, but it's unmistakably me. Straight black hair, neat features, light brown skin and dark eyes. She's left out the bruises and I look okay. It's great, I tell her. Much better than mine. Yours is more surrealistic. Yeah, corkscrew hair and gumball eyes. I look at the card again. It's awesome, Lissa. Thanks. Her cheeks have moved from rose madder to alizarin crimson. You're welcome. Wow, that's cool. My first ever anything from a girl. And a pretty girl at that. Does this mean she likes me? Sitting in the courtyard later, I pull the picture out again. This is an amazing start to the week. Hey, Pig! Okay, that's less amazing, but at least it's not Stormin. I'm talking to you, Pig! Not that Steph is a lot better, especially considering the complete absence of yard supervision. Why do they think one teacher can supervise 3 areas?
Go.
I'll finish that there because we're leading into the first major topic I want to look at, the major theme and justification of this book, bullying. So please tune in next lecture for not only bullying in Pig, but some facts about bullying in Australia, how and why it happens, and hopefully some of the things we can do about it. Thank you very much.